Recording.
It's time to strap in and get ready. The leaders in AFL SuperCoach are incoming, helping you win your leagues and climb up the rankings. You're now listening to the Insight AFL Show with your hosts, Big Horse and Skitty.
G'day and welcome to another episode of the Inside AFL Show. I'm your host, The Horse, and with me again for day 2 of our graphs, our targets. What do you call them? Tier lists. It's
Tier
deadly.
list. Hey mate, how are we? Good to be back yet again, doing another one of these tier lists. We got Rucks today. Pretty keen. Some pretty weird ones out there. Didn't expect a few of these guys to get in the top 15 Rucks, but we just want to preface that, if they're forward eligible, and then you would probably put them in the forward line like a Luke Jackson. He's not here. He'll be in the forward one.
Yep, for sure. So we see there that we've got the top 15 owned players in AFL SuperCoach, not the top 15 ranked, the top 15 owned SuperCoach rucks in the competition. And we're going to go through and rank them. We've got 5 categories. We've got set and forget, which your Maxi Gawns and the like have been in the past, your potential keepers, your value picks, your upsides, but they're kind of meh, and everyone's favourite category, your Campbell Chesser, where you're not getting any value at all. Before we start, though, like, subscribe, bell. Here at Insight, we call it being the triple banger. But also, if you're listening to us on audio, give us a 5-star review. Helps get us out into the SuperCoach world. And the more people listen to us, the more people that can appreciate the content that we give out to the wide world that is SuperCoach. Deadly. We're going to not worry too much about the sponsors chat and all that sort of stuff just yet. I want to get stuck straight into the rucks, mate. So to start us off, it's Tristan Cherry. He's got to be number 1, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's set and forget, mate. His work around the ground's phenomenal. His tackling's phenomenal. His hit-out's really improved towards the back end of last year. Mm-hmm. And, he's a second price ruck behind Max Gawn. It's for good reason. He finished the year as the most expensive player in all of SuperCoach. And, you probably just, the way rucks have been going recently and with all these injuries, you probably just pick him at this rate and just lock him in.
100%. What was his average last 5 games last year? 147, I think it was. So
something ridiculous, yeah.
Usually when we see Ruckmen pop off like that, you know that it's time. They've arrived and they're going to be players for us and really good value players for us moving forward in SuperCoach for years to come. So we remember when Maxi Gawn started to pop off. Brodie Grundy had a few years there where he went really, really well as well. Nank's been a consistent performer over the years. Even to a lesser extent, your Jared Witts, who he came on after going to the Gold Coast from Collingwood, and he's averaged his 100 each year. So you see that when the rucks start to get consistent time and become familiar with the game plan and the people that surround them, they usually crack on and continue their high scoring, don't they?
Yeah, 100%. He was known as the Spectrum by the Insight community last year. He's the Spectrum no longer. He's set and forget. He's probably number 1 this year.
Yep. Well, just got some quick numbers for you. Averaged 131 post-buy last year, 149 in his last 5. So just looking at that alone, mate, he's got to be in your set and forget, doesn't he?
100%. He's too good.
Locked in. Number 2, mate. Harry Boyd from St Kilda picked up as an SSP picked. Just after Christmas it was confirmed, but we knew it was coming well before Christmas.
Yeah.
You've got his stats there in front of you for what he averaged in the sample last year?
Yep. 40 hit-outs, 20 disposals, and 10 clearances. And he averaged 159 SuperCoach points a game.
That's nuts, isn't it?
At 99K, if he gets anywhere near in the ruck, it's value instantly.
Yep.
And Rowan Marshall's been dealing with this pelvis injury. He's supposedly going to be back for round 1, but I don't know if they rush him back. I think he probably spends more time forward because they wanted to push him forward a bit more last year anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I can't see him full-time rucking at all. And I think Harry Boyd's probably his backup.
We saw at the back end of last year, Rowan Marshall actually did quite well in the forward line.
Yeah, really well.
A couple of times he kicked 3 goals and looked really dangerous forward of centre. So I think St Kilda are open to playing that dual ruck. And if that's the case, I don't think he'll be a potential keeper at 99K, but there's definite value there.
Yeah, 100%. He's the most value pick you could probably have in all of SuperCoach right now, as long as he, actually gets picked. But even still, he's a good option to have at the complete bottom dollar. If he, plays a couple games down the track, you can use him if you need to as a loop for the first few rounds if he doesn't play.
Spot on. Our next ruckman, mate, there's a couple of ways this could go this year for the Carlton ruckman, who currently has a 7-year deal in front of him from other clubs as well as his own, and that's Tom de Koning from the Carlton Footy Club. How do you see this year panning out? Do you think they stick with Pitt, or do you think they go one out with TDK?
TDK could either be set and forget, or he could be Campbell Chesser. He averages 130 or something without Pitt, 70 with him. It's pretty yucky. But at the same time, you've got to say that they're probably going to split it to start, which is really, really annoying. I would rather than just have TDK. But I think later on down the track, it'll just be TDK once they realise Pitt's nothing special.
Averaged 124 as a solo ruck last year.
Yeah, it's good for third average all season if he stayed that way. They went 9-1 with TDK as a solo ruck and 4-9 with him dual rucking, which just on those numbers alone should tell you maybe something's working here with TDK as a solo ruck. I think he's probably just landed potential keeper just for that complete upside factor and the fact that Pitnet could probably piss off for him. But yeah, just wait and see. Carlton have a practice match against St Kilda at Icon Park this weekend. We'll have a look at that, see what the go is, and report back to you through.
For sure. That's exactly what we will do. For me, I think Pitt plays early. And the reason for that being is I think Voss plays Pitt to protect TDK a little bit from the bigger bodied rucks. I don't like it. And I feel like if it continues to start if we don't see TDK signing on the dotted line early for Carlton, maybe some frustration grows and maybe he sees his way out of Carlton if that's the case. I know that's not what Carlton want to hear, but if you've got a genuine number one ruck there who's a known performer and the team performs so much better as him as the number one ruckman, and you're still playing someone to play babysitter or to protect him in games where they're playing the bigger ruck, it doesn't bode well, does it?
Nah, not at all. I don't like it at all. I mean, I think they play Richmond round 1, so it's against Nank, who's probably the biggest body of them all.
Yeah.
That'd be the only way to, I feel like they should test TDK against Nank and then go from there. But, I'm not an AFL coach. I probably never will be. But, to me personally, it seems a bit silly. I feel like TDK is your best ruckman, and to just sort of make him second fiddle to a bloke who hasn't really done anything since he's cracked in. It's a bit silly, but we'll hope for our SuperCoach sides that TDK is the sole ruckman at some point pretty soon.
That's right. Next on our list, mate, we've got Tommy Sims, the 113K ruck forward for the Richmond Footy Club. For me, he's behind Nank. He's behind Samson Ryan.
Yep.
I don't really see him playing many games this year, even though he outdueled Matt Flynn in yesterday's practice match.
Yep.
I don't see him playing this year. I think this year's a developmental year for him.
Yeah, I'm fully on the same page. I fully believe that this is just a pick as, your loop option if you want to play Harry Boyd in your flex or your R2, which I wouldn't recommend doing nowadays.
No.
I feel like Harry Boyd's just your R3, and having Sims there is maybe like it's going to be Campbell Chesser because he's not going to play. It's a good loop option if you want to have it. I feel like there is better loop options out there though, and I'm not the biggest fan of starting with a loop because these guys will some of these guys will drop out and you can use them. Like we saw Zach Reed last year, got injured first game. And, he sat on most people's benches very quickly for the whole season.
The whole year.
So you can just use a guy like that if you need to. Or, I don't like picking enough straight away. I'd rather have guys that are playing, and if I need to, I can switch to enough.
So we're putting him in the Campbell Chesser?
Yeah, I don't like it.
The next ruckman we have here is Big Maxwell Gawn from the Melbourne Footy Club. 130 he averaged pre-bye last year, but did get tired late, and I feel like that may be a bit physically and a bit mentally with the amount of, we'll say, shit that happened with the Melbourne Footy Club last year.
Yeah.
He's now 33. He's got some juice left in the tank, but are his glory days over, or do you still think that he can average you your 120 to 125s? 33 is still a good age for a ruckman.
Yep.
But how do you see this playing out? For me, he's a set and forget.
Yeah, he's a set and forget for me too, but there is more question marks than even last year when, opening round, played against Brodie Grundy, went on the bench, was getting worked on by the trainer. Everyone pulled him out of their teams because they were a bit worried. There's even more question marks this year. Yes, the age plays a factor, but I don't think it's the biggest thing going against him.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
What do you think is the biggest thing going against him?
Oh, he got burnt out so quickly last year. His ankles are shot. I don't think like that. Melbourne don't have a backup ruck anymore.
No,
it's just him. There's like JVR is probably the backup ruck, and that's look, he's still going to be great. He's still going to pump out the 120s. There's just question marks around it, and I think Sherry is a better option at a cheaper price.
Yeah,
but I still think you can go with both if you can afford it and be happy with it to set and forget your ruck position the whole year.
For sure. Pre-buy last year, as I said, 130 SuperCoach points per game. Post-buy, he only averaged 115, so 15 points less. And here I am saying only 115, but that's still pretty good for someone that burnt out towards the back end of the year. In his last 5 games, though, he averaged 125. So for me, there's still value there, but I think it's important to have a playing R3 in case he does have some games off.
100%, yep.
Next, we have Matt Flynn. Plays for the West Coast Eagles now, crossing from GWS. Did not much last year. And by the looks of yesterday's game, it's going to be the same again. There's not much going on there. And young Tommy Sims, who we've already put in the Campbell Chesser realm of not playing this year, matched it with him around the ground yesterday. There were some reports saying that he still had a sore back and that he was battling through that. But for me, there's not even any real upside here.
Yeah, no, I agree. There is. We thought, start of the preseason, that 261K, there's money to be made here for a ruck one. He's been injured 3 times already this preseason, let alone already the injuries that he was coming back from last year. He got
carried off because he had blisters on his foot.
I mean, that is weak as piss.
Yeah.
You know what? He should be in the level below Campbell Chesser for that.
Mm-hmm.
The weakest piss be better tier. It's a new tier. He's in there.
Yeah.
No, I don't think he's ruck one anymore for West Coast.
No.
To be honest with you, he's pretty shit house, if we're honest. And you can't pick him for your team anymore. He's not a flex option. He's not an R2 option. There's no upside. I hate it, to be honest now.
Yep. Where are you putting him? Yep, he's in with Campbell Chesser. Teammates. Yep. Let's move on because I don't think there's much more we can talk about there. We're going to talk about Tim English now, who was pretty poor last year. 2023 All-Australian Ruckman. Didn't really win much or any battles in 2024. He started off with those migraine issues and he just looked off to me. Didn't look himself. There is upside there, but I've crunched some numbers, mate. Before the bye, he averaged 112. Yep. Post-bye, he averaged 101. And in his last 5 games, he averaged 93 SuperCoach points per game.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there is upside there. But yeah, there is so many better options, I feel.
Yeah.
And, he went down with an injury. What was it? It was
like a rib injury, internal bleeding or bruising
abdominal
or
or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some sort of injury internally, which, he's only just coming back from. And it looks like that Braden Crossley is the good chance to be the SSP signing for the Bulldogs.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like they might split, mate. It looks like English might rest forward a lot more this year and split rucks with Crossley if he gets games.
Yeah, I don't like it.
In that intra club, it didn't look good at all. English barely rucked. He had 3 set of bounces all game.
Yeah, I think from that point of view, I'm glad you brought that up. The SSP signings have to be done by February 21st. We're recording on the 18th. So there's 3 days left. There's a genuine battle there between Dom Brew and Braden Crossley for that last spot at the Dogs. With the injuries to the bigs at the Western Bulldogs at the moment, and there's no real ruckman behind Tim English, I feel like that was a bit of an audition for Crossley.
Yeah.
And while he did all right at the start, he got monstered in the second half.
Yeah.
Like he made Sam Draper look like Max Gawn 2021 type of thing. So when we're looking at it from that point of view, I think that Crossley's more insurance. I don't think they'll double up. I don't think they'll play both. Because if you have English resting forward, you can always play Darcy in the ruck if you need to.
Yeah, true.
You've got Lob there if you have to as well, even though he played well down back. So you've got that. Crossley's more a break glass in case of emergency type of scenario.
Yeah.
Which sucks for Don Brew because knowing him from a personal level, ripper bloke.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's more of a need for the Western Bulldogs to have a backup ruck than what there is to have another midfielder.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Don Brew, fantastic in the VFL, always has been.
Yeah.
He's always deserved a crack, but it's just never been the right time for him, unfortunately. And, this Western Bulldogs tide doesn't need another midfielder. They do need that backup ruck insurance for Tim English. I got a slight soft spot for Tim English, even though he completely burnt me last year, but I wasn't affected by it too much. I did start with him at whatever, 725k or whatever it was, ridiculous price. But I vice captained him like every single one of his big scores, so I didn't really get killed too much.
Yeah, right.
There is upside to be made. We know, 2 years ago, as I said, priced at 735k. If he can get back up to there, but that's ruck one.
Mm-hmm.
But I just can't see it happening. I think that his best days are behind him, and it's just a bit meh option now.
Yeah, I agree. Our next ruckman, mate, Archer Reid from the West Coast Footy Club. Played a bit of ruck yesterday, played a bit of key forward, 119k.
Yeah.
People looking at him as a loop option. For me, you can go elsewhere and go with your Harry Boyds as your R3.
Yeah.
Do you think he plays from the start?
Probably not, but I reckon he's close. He looks he looked real impressive as a key forward, and they're loving him up forward, sort of as a second ruck insurance. Even though if Flynn's injured or they don't play Flynn, there's every chance that they go Bailey Williams, ruck, Archer Reid, key forward, and they swap between both. And they keep doing that. But yeah, I reckon he's more of a key forward than a ruck. He's just available at both spots.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I still don't like him as a pick. There is a lot more forwards out there. You obviously want your two good rucks and Harry Boyd. I think you can look elsewhere and be happy about it. Personally.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yep. Next, we have Darcy Cameron from the Collingwood Footy Club. Finished last year pretty well too, mate.
Yeah.
So, go on.
I'm really interested in him, to be honest with you. He finished back end of last year as ruck 2, I believe, only behind Sherry.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't for that early buy for Collingwood, I reckon I probably would have had him with all the ruck carnage that's going on. He looked incredible. Even in the finals as well, he looked really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
No, not finals, what's it called? SuperCoach finals, not actual AFL finals. I think if you want to this is probably one of the more pod options. I really like her. I think he's probably a potential keeper. If you start with him, as long as you got the insurance to cover him during the early buy, I think it's a great option personally.
Yep. Career best last year. So
I think he smashes it this year.
Yep. 105 he averaged last year. Mind you, for those of you that think that he plays worse with Mason Cox in the side, you would be incorrect. He actually averages more SuperCoach per game with Cox in the side than without. He averaged 117 after their bye last year, and in his last 5 games, he averaged 124 SuperCoach points. For me, he is the smoky to be a top 2 ruckman this year, Deadly.
Yep.
So we spoke about Gawn, and does age catch up with him? Does the toll of being the number 1 ruck for so long catch up with him? I think Cherries, while he does have a difficult start to the year, will be top 2 ruck this year.
Yep.
Darcy Cameron has some definite upside that he could almost sneak his way in there. Like, you're looking at the likes of Nankervis, who could be sneaky top 3, top 4 value as well.
Yep.
Tim English, I'm sort of meh on at the moment. Maxi Gawn, with as we've just spoken about, with the K's in his legs and being number 1 ruck for so long. I think Brodie Grundy's days of being the number 1 ruck are over.
Yeah.
Jared Witts, we see Ned Moyle really giving it a nudge, and he may overtake Jared Witts this year. TDK's got the pit worry that we can all concern ourselves with. So
yeah,
Darcy Cameron's the clear number 1 ruck there, and it's not even close to anyone else. There's definite scope there that he could be the number 2 ruck in SuperCoach this year.
Yeah, 100%. I think you're right. And if you go back to last year, his career season, he really only had 3 down games. Like his worst game besides this 3 was an 82 against North Melbourne against Tristan Sherry, which, he's a great defensive ruck as well. He doesn't, he doesn't concede many points. But if you look at his 3 worst games, it was an 18 against Brisbane in round 3, where I'm pretty sure he actually got injured in as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we know Oscar McInerney is a fantastic defending ruck. And his 2 other worst games are against Essendon. And we came to find out the other week, Essendon are the ruck stoppers.
Yep, number 1 ruck stoppers.
They're the best defending team against rucks. Besides that, Darcy Cameron's base is 85. And, he had a 160 upside. He's probably kicking on to a 115 average, take out those games at least.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Right, mate. So...
yeah, close to a potential keeper.
Let's put him in there. I think he could be. Yep.
Yeah. All right. If you want a pod option, that's my pod for rucks.
Yep. Closely followed by this next guy.
100%.
Lloyd Meek from the Hawthorn Footy Club. Talk to me about Lloyd and why you think he's a super sexy pick after his round 4 bye.
I'm not too interested before the bye because he goes up against some really, really tough ruck defending teams. But post that round, I think it's 5 bye, he goes, let me just get it up really quickly so I don't mess this up.
Mm-hmm.
He has got, round 4 bye, he has Port Adelaide, who are the 6th worst defending ruck team. Mm-hmm. Geelong, the 2nd worst. West Coast, the worst. Mm-hmm. Richmond, Toby Nankervis is about the 7th. Melbourne, about the 9th. So he's about, Max Gawn's about middle of the field. Gold Coast, Jared Witts and the like, they're about the 5th worst, I think. And then they go into Brisbane before their bye, who's Omac's pretty good. But that run, playing like some of the worst teams to defend against rucks, that's gold for us. And, if he can drop some coin before that bye, you could pick him up at maybe it's a bit ambitious, but maybe 510, 520K.
Mm-hmm.
Instant value. There's going to be points on offer. I really like it post bye, mate. I wouldn't start with him personally, but there is an argument.
Spot on. 7 years of playing backup ruck at the Fremantle Dockers and then at Hawthorn before he got his chance, and established himself as one of the top rucks in the competition, really. 99 he averaged pre-bye last year, 108 he averaged post-bye, and in his last 5 games he averaged 101. So probably the sky or the roof, I guess, of other options in your TDK, your Cherries, your Camerons might not be there, but I think your consistency is definitely a safe pick, isn't he?
Yeah, 100%. He looked, obviously they played Geelong in the
ceiling's the word I was looking for. Ceiling.
Yeah. They
not
played
the roof.
They played Geelong in the intra-club yesterday, and he went up against 4 different ruckmen and dominated every single one.
Mm-hmm.
He looked great, in good shape, was winning every hit out, tapping it to advantage every time. And we know hit outs to advantage, SuperCoach Gold, get 5 points every time. Meekie's great, and that midfield he's got around him, they're going to get ball consistently well.
Yep.
I think there is complete potential keeper upside for him.
Yep, I agree. Let's bang him in there. Next, we've got Rowan Marshall, but before we talk about Rowan Marshall, we're going to have a listen to this American guy talk about what we've got offering in our Patreon.
Want to take your SuperCoach game to the next level? Inside Fantasy Sports are bringing you exclusive content all year round, such as weekly expert Q&As, team, trade, and captaincy advice, statistical deep dives, priority podcast questions, and tons more. So what are you waiting for? Get full access to the experts. Go to patreon.com/Insight Fantasy Sports and subscribe to Insight Unlimited today.
Plenty of that and more going on in the Insight Fantasy Sports Patreon. Subscribe for a cup of coffee per month. That's right, $6 per month. You get all of that plus much, much more. Deadly. Let's move on to Rowan Marshall. St Kilda, number 1 ruckman, and still will be. In a season or a pre-season that's been marred by injury, especially a fractured pelvis, Rossi Lyons come out and said that he will be right for round 1, but how concerned are you for Rowan Marshall? So
very
numbers-wise, mate, since going into the solo ruck at St Kilda, he's averaged 114 at that time. Pre-bye last year, 107 he averaged. Post-bye, he averaged almost 120. In his last 5 games last year, he averaged 131. So I feel like that's going to be etched in the minds of the beholder that held or that grabbed Marshall late last year and how well he played and how well he scored.
Yeah.
But with this fracture to the pelvis and Harry Boyd coming in and with how well he did up forward, I feel like there's going to be a lot of forward time coming up for Marshall, especially to start the season.
Yeah, 100%. Look, Marshall's end of season run last year, it wasn't the greatest of runs. He had West Coast in it, Richmond, Geelong in it, a Carlton team with Pitt in it as the ruck. And he had an absurd amount of touches. Like, it was Tim English 2023 level touches each game. He was averaging, I think he averaged 22 touches plus a game.
He did.
Yeah, so that's stuff you don't really get from a ruck. But, you know, that's sort of when he started creeping forward a bit more, kicking some goals.
Mm-hmm.
But his hitouts were still the same because, you know, there wasn't much opposition. You know, his matchups weren't too hard. I think we'll see a bit of a decrease in Rowan Marshall. I had him all of last year, pretty much. I'm not so interested anymore, especially 600k plus. I think there is better options out there this year, and I'm just worried that he spends way too much time forward to even, you know, be considered a good option personally.
So, where do you think we pick him? Because he's definitely not set and forget.
No.
If he brings back the time that he has in the midfield and Harry Boyd ends up playing more forward, then you've got a potential keeper.
Yep.
He's not value. There's definite upside there, though.
Yep. He probably lands somewhere in between potential keeper and upsides there, but he's a bit meh. If he drops a lot of coin and it looks like that Harry Boyd sort of isn't working and they just want to have Marshall solo ruck again, and he moves back to the ruck and he's about 540, 550k, 100% you pick him, 100% then you probably hold him for the rest of the year. That's where the potential keeper lies. But to start the season, and this is what we base it off, to start the season, The upside is there because we know how well he can score, even when he's forward. The disposals are there.
Yeah,
It's just meh. There is better options for cheaper, I think.
for sure. Let's put him in. Liam Reedy, or Reedy, is next. Fremantle Football Club, 132k Supercoach Ruckman, who has jumped to relevance since the news of Sean Darcy going down with that knee, and he's not going to be available for the first month of the season at least. So Reedy, for those of you that don't know who he is, he's a mature age ruck who's played a full season at Waffle level and VFL level, mind you, played a bit here in Victoria. Played the last 2 games of 2024, and Freo might need him to play a little bit more this year because I feel like they're going to leave Jackson forward a little bit more. Yep, we 100%. Saw in the practice match, in the first 10 minutes, Jackson played midfield, he played ruck, and he played forward. So when you're looking at that, I don't even think Longmuir knows where Jackson's best position is. And if you've got someone like Reedy, who once he gets a bit of game time, I feel like he's going to progress into quite a nice ruckman. What do we think? Do we ride the wave to start and get 2 or 3 rounds of value out of him, or 6 rounds of potential price increases before Darcy comes back? Or, heaven forbid, if he plays well and Fremantle are winning, does that give Darcy more time to recover and they just keep riding with Reedy to start? How do you see this playing out?
Yeah, well, first of all, we'll give a quick shout out to Damo. He brought this to our attention. If Darcy was to go down, we would probably see Reedy as the ruck and Jackson to stay forward, just for the simple fact that Jackson got so burnt out last year playing ruck. And Reedy he's too good for Waffle, but he's not good enough for AFL. He sort of sits in that Don Brew, Braden Crossley area where he's too good for the Rezzies, but just not enough yet for that, for that level. I think probably, look, if you're going to pick him, you're picking Harry Boyd as your ruck 2 or your flex, and you're trying to find value elsewhere, which, as I said before, I'm not the biggest fan of. I think you can avoid Reedy because, yes, I think it's probably just the 4 week into the season thing. They'll want Darcy back. Yes, they want to make sure his body's right, but at the same time, his preseason was pretty red hot, recovering from injuries. They've gone the extra step to make sure he's going to be right for when the season fully kicks off into gear in round 4. And by that time, I can't see, Darcy being held back any longer. And I think Reed probably drops back out, goes back to Waffle. It's not worth the 4 week play. You won't make enough money and you'll be stuck with him. I don't like it personally.
So, which category are you putting him in?
He's probably Campbell Chesser for me. I just don't think you can pick him, to be honest, at all.
Okay. Next, we have Darcy Fort. So Darcy Fort came about being relevant due to the injury news to big Oscar McInerney before last year's grand final, and Darcy Fort played pretty well in that grand final, although didn't score very well Supercoach-wise. He still held his own pretty well. So as a number 2 ruck, there's definitely worse in the competition. But he's only played, 10 matches in the past 2 seasons?
Yeah.
He's really Big O's backup. And from all reports, Big Oscar, he's recovering from shoulder surgery, bit of a tongue tie there, has come on better than first thought. And we're expecting to see Big O play in much earlier than what we're anticipating, say, November, December last year. So if people were looking at Darcy Fort as a bit of a cash cow to start the year, they could put a line through that straight away, Deadly.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, we don't need to spend too much time on Darcy Fort. Look, it's not horrible if O'Mac goes down for the season and you can downgrade someone to him. Yep. He'll score decently, maybe 60s each week, but at the same time, you can't have him start a season, he won't play. It's simple as that. As long as O'Mac's fit, he's not playing. And I feel like he was sort of a lot higher priced when the app opened. People thought, Oscar's injury was going to be a lot worse than first anticipated. And the ownership's sort of starting to drop, but it's not fully come all the way down to what it should have. There's maybe just a few teams that haven't, logged in since the start. They've just sort of set their team with Darcy in there and left it. You can't pick him. He's bottom tier.
100%. Let's leave him there. Brodie Grundy is next, Deadly. How do you see this playing out for the Sydney Swans number 1 ruck?
It's a bit of a weird one. I'm not high on him. Yes, he was a great option last year. Yes, he was great. He's got Dean Cox there now as the coach.
Who's perhaps the best Supercoach ruckman we've ever had.
Yeah, perhaps the best ruckman ever. So, he won't have a bad season. But the problem is, people will say that he had Cox there in the coaching staff already. He's just a head coach now. Cox was the assistant coach last year. Look, I think he's probably, I think he stays around the same. There, he's what you see is what you get with Brodie Grundy. I can't see, much average decrease, much average increase. It'll probably be much the same to what we had last year, and there's no real money to be made or anything like that.
Yeah, spot on. For me, he was a little bit underwhelming. Pre-buy last year, not too bad, 110. Post-buy averaged only 104. In his last 5 games, he only averaged 89. So, yeah, I think his days of being that uber premium scorer are over. The upside's there, but meh.
Yeah,
doesn't really excite me.
Finished as the number 7 ruck last year, I believe. I could see him dropping back to 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there is possibility he could go up to, the 5th best, and he's a bit of an option. But yeah, there is a lot of better options out there. I'm not fond on Brodie Grundy this year.
Yeah, for sure. Our last ruckman that we're going to discuss today, Deadly, is the big man from the Richmond Footy Club, Toby the Tank Nankervis. So back-to-back plus 104 Supercoach points season, including a 7-game stretch where he averaged 129 before getting concussed. They're massive numbers. My issue is he plays for the Richmond Footy Club. And that's not a knock against anyone that plays at the Richmond Footy Club or anyone that supports the Richmond Footy Club. We saw in the practice match yesterday how bad they looked against West Coast, who are also going to be another struggling team. And I feel like this year is going to be a year of trialling things for Richmond, trialling people in positions to see what their list is going to look like when they have their next crack at whenever it's time to win their next premiership. Whether next they're ruckman in that or not, I'm not sure. But are they going to use this year where they're not expected to win too many games to give the Samson Ryans and the Thomas Sims and these kind of guys a bit more of a crack in the ruck? I've copped a bit of flack for suggesting that, but I don't think it's without the realms of possibility.
Yeah, it is definitely possible. I think, I'm probably a lot higher on Toby Nankervis this year than you would be. I'm really looking at him as one of my rucks to start with.
Yeah.
Maybe, downgrade him to a meek if it's after the bye, if it's not working out.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's another season in the leadership group for him. I can see a bit of upside. Obviously he had the monster scores before that concussion last year. It's pretty hard to pinpoint Richmond, because they're just such a random team. And this new style of gameplay, I think it actually could benefit Toby. Because if you think about it, this sort of slow build-up play, rucks get involved in a fair bit with this sort of chip kick stuff.
Yeah.
You see, these Freo guys last year when they were doing a bit of chip kick around the back, Luke Jackson got involved a fair bit when he was rucking. Melbourne have had some slow build-up plays in the past. Max Gawn likes to get involved. I don't know if Nank's one of them guys to do that, but there is, if he sort of gets back there, helps out, and does that sort of stuff, there's just guaranteed points from disposals, and we know how good of a tap ruck he is.
Mm-hmm.
I can see a bit of upside, and he probably lands in potential keeper for me. But,
yeah, I think he's potential keeper. Yep.
But yeah, he's probably not, he's not the Cherry or the Gawns of this world, but yeah, he's up there.
Let's lock him in for potential keeper. So for those of you listening on audio and can't see the graph that we've got up on the screen at the moment, we've got Cherry and Gawn as your set and forget. TDK, Darcy Cameron, Lloyd Meek, Toby Nankervis as your potential keepers. Your value pick is Harry Boyd. Should be your R3 in almost every team in Supercoach. Your upside picks are Timmy English, Rowan Marshall, and Brodie Grundy. And your Campbell Chessers of the ruck world for Supercoach are Tommy Sims, Matt Flynn, Archer Reid, Liam Reddy, and Darcy Fort. Anything you'd like to add before we finish up, Deadly?
No, that should be about it. I feel like we've covered all bases. There's a few other ruckmen that obviously are less owned, but once again, there is better options than all of them. I feel like all the top rucks that you're going to want to pick are in this tier. There's no real massive pods below 2% or something like that. These are your guys. You can come back to this tier list at any time throughout the season, and most of these guys will be in and around there, and you'll be happy with it.
For sure. And for those of you at home that rate yourselves, I guess, at Supercoach, the Supercoach World Cup is back. So if you think you've got what it takes to be the very best Supercoach player in the world, but that includes not just AFL, but NRL, BBL, and NBL, what we do is we accumulate scores and you get a percentage from each sport. And if you finish with the top percentage, you win the title of being the best Supercoach player in the world. Mitch, the coach of Twitch at Flinch, is our first ever Supercoach World Champion, and he's back to defend it again this year. So if you want to know more details, the link is in the description below. Click that or send us a DM or join up to our Patreon. We will give you all the details there. But for today, they're our rucks, our top 15%, not top 15%, sorry, top 15 owned ruckmans, not top 15 who are going to be top 15 this year. It's the most owned ruckmans in the competition. So that may change before round 1 or round 0. We'll just have to see what happens with our practice matches. But to keep up to date with everything that's going on in the land of practice matches, match sims, injury news, and a whole lot more, join our Patreon. Below is Deadly. I'm the Horse. And we'll catch up for our next episode where we talk about the midfield and who we rank as the very best and who we think joins Campbell Chesser down below. We'll see you then.